Hello, and welcome to Outer Spaces, a podcast dedicated to empowering designers and contractors in the outdoor living space.
Through this show, we hope to create a powerful resource for you, someone who is trying to grow their company but might not have all the tools and processes to do so.
On Outer Spaces, we are passionate about breaking the chains of small mindsets and helping contractors just like you take control of their businesses and their lives. My name is Joshua Gillow.
And I'm Dwayne Drawn.
Through our 40 years of combined dirt under the nails experience, we look forward to sharing tips, strategies, and other contractor success stories here on the Outer Spaces podcast.
Without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Hello, and welcome back to the Outer Spaces podcast brought to you by Yes Express. And today we have a super special guest. I actually had the opportunity and the privilege of sharing some time on stage, back to back here with him down in Lancaster County this year. And we figured we'd bring him on a podcast talk. He's doing some amazing things out in the Pittsburgh area. He owns or is partner in Local Roots Landscaping. And they have a really unique way that they, hold people and their culture they've created. I've seen some videos online of employees just singing their praises about how amazing it is to work there. And I know that's a big, topic on everyone's mind. But before we get into that side of things, I wanted to talk to him a little bit more about economy, how he's handling the changing winds of the world that we're in now. We're not in the post-COVID bump. I think we're on the other side of that. So how are we handling that? What is he doing to prepare? I want to get you guys ready for the next step here in the outdoor living world. So without any further ado, Kenneth Deemer, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was cool. I got to catch up on some of your previous episodes, and yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, it's a cool show you run here, and I appreciate all the value that you bring to the industry.
Thank you, man. Thank you, and same to you, man. I know you've been, out speaking and helping and teaching what you've learned in your business, and that's really what it's all about. It's about empowering others with what we've learned and not trying to, hold on to it ourselves. And saying, you know what, no, I have to keep this for me, because if someone else figured this out, then they would be able to, be a competitor, or they'd try to outpace me, or they take work from me. And you understand that's not how the world works. It's about sharing. The more information we share, and the better that everyone else can live and grow, that makes the whole industry better, which helps everybody. And I love that's in your heart.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people view that as just like a good karma thing, where it's like, man, if I help this person out, it'll come back around to me. But the reality is if you want to look for a common identifying mark among every unsuccessful company, it is the fact that they are holding like white knuckling things they feel like are theirs, or are so top secret and unwilling to help other people. I mean, that is just one common characteristic across basically every company that plateaus and can't get to the next level, is that just stalwart, fear of collaboration or sharing what you've got. So it's not only just, I think, altruistic, it's just like, it's the way to be successful, is to be willing to share and to be part of a community where everyone has open and free flowing ideas.
I love that, dude. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but I know when I first started, I was in a different mindset. 25 years ago, starting this industry, it was like, I figured something out. I would not tell anybody about it. It was like over my dead body, because if I gave that away to somebody, they would take it, and then I would have to start again. And that's how it felt so often. And thank goodness that's changed. Thank goodness my mindset has changed. Have you found that along your journey as well?
Definitely. And I think a big part of it is because you work so hard for those little nuggets you get. Yeah. You work so hard to find the right vendor. You work so hard to find what works in your cross section of the industry or whatever it may be. And there's two ways to do it. One is to say, it's like, I'm going to keep this super close, and then start working so hard to climb the next hill to find the next nugget. And that takes another 15 months, and then a few months, a few years in, you've accumulated, one or two trips or tricks or tips or secrets or whatever it may be, versus the alternative of just having this like great group of peers, whether it be in the podcast world, in the social media world, in real life, just like peers in the industry, and then just being willing to share those things and all progress together. You end up in a position where the whole industry's been elevated so far beyond where it ever could have been, versus you just sitting there white knuckling, the little bit that you think you have are so special to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And once you start sharing, you find that others start sharing, and then you're like, oh my God, it's like this almost this currency. Instead of money, it's ideas. And it's like, wait a minute. So how did you solve this problem? Oh, you did that? Holy crap. I never thought of that. Perfect. And they ask you, well, how did you solve that problem? Well, I did it this. Holy crap. It's like, it becomes a currency in exchange. It's beautiful. And to see it empower the businesses and their families, their lives, see people taking more vacations and just spending more time present with their families, because that's ultimately the goal, right? Is phenomenal. I love it, dude. And I love that you're in that mindset too.
Yeah.
So before we go much deeper into this, Kenneth, tell us a little about your history. How did you get into this industry? Is this something you were destined for, or did you just kind of find your way into it?
uh, yeah, I mean, it kind of found its way to me. My background, my history, I actually went to a Bible school out in Chicago for urban ministry. And that's what I thought I wanted to do until I moved into a city to go to school. And then a few years later, I traveled a lot, took time off. It took me 6 years to not finish college. And then once I finished that, I kind of came home and was just looking for the next step. I was planning on finishing school. I had 6 credits outstanding. I had to take 2 language courses and then I was done. But then as soon as I got back, my business partner, Patrick, who is just the other very integral part of the business, obviously, his goal throughout his college years was to make enough money by noon on Saturday to kind of keep pace with all of his other friends who had part-time summer jobs. So for that, there's nothing better than, having 6 or 7 lawns that you do on Saturday morning. So that's what he started doing his senior year. He was wrapping up the same year that I wrapped up college. He did it in 4 though, and he actually finished. So he's got me beat on 2 counts. But his senior year was super busy. So I took over some of those lawns for him in his absence while he was gone. But yeah, we then when he returned back, we started working together. One thing led to the next. It was just this crazy series of events where every time we were out, people were pulling over and stopping, asking us to do more work and more and more and more. And we thought it was just absolutely booming. So we took a couple risks that summer, bought some mowers, transitioned out of our trusty Honda Civic into a trusty 1996 Toyota Tacoma, and then into a Tundra after that. But yeah, the first year we thought took off like crazy. We grossed $54,000 between the 2 of us. So obviously not sustainable, but we, that's kind of where it first started, and then just grew from there. And we were able to, just kind of follow the signs and made our way into the industry that way.
I love that, dude. And it sounds like so many stories, because most people don't go to school and then go, I want to come out and mow lawns, or I want to come out and do landscaping, right? Some do, I know, but oftentimes it's something that finds us, and also we find this passion, this beautiful, the ability to create and see and work in nature and all those things that just lightens up our soul. I know it's what hooked me in the beginning, growing up in a garden center is to be able to get out and then build cool shit. That's what I always loved to do, design and build cool shit. That was the focus. But, yeah, it's really, really cool, dude. So that sounds awesome. So obviously we feel, at least we do over here on the eastern side of Pennsylvania, we're starting to feel the wind shifting after after COVID bump here, and with everyone just so busy and all these, companies exploded, just such bump in amount of people that want what we do, right? And it was so great to see. And also how many businesses started during this bump in order to handle the immense amount of demand that was out there. But, everyone I'm talking to at this point, and tons of other industries are starting to see those winds shift. And the question is, what are you guys doing in Pittsburgh in order to prepare for the inevitably more winter months, if you will, coming of this industry? So what are you guys doing? What are you seeing? Tell us about what's happening.
Yeah. So as far as what we're seeing, just to be very transparent here, I would say we've seen our first, it's a trailing indicator, right? Kind of, there's so many different phases to the sales cycle. So I would say we had a kind of scary drop in April in terms of new appointments, like new stuff that was actually scheduled. And then things kind of picked up to normal from there. So I'm trying to check the Dow Jones Industrial Average less frequently and just kind of watch our KPIs to see like, hey, but what's this actually telling me? Because as everyone who went through COVID in this industry understands, like what's happening in the rest of the world is not necessarily correlative to what's happening in our world. So I am trying to not stress out about it, leave it in God's hands, and just say like, hey, this is going to be what it is. So that's kind of like from an anxiety management standpoint. Realistically, we haven't seen a huge drop off right now. We grew a good bit over last year. We're going about 80%, like our target's about 80% growth this year. So it's tough to distinguish what is just growing sales by volume of company versus what is like could actually be slowly tapering this time of year. But right now, I mean, we're seeing still great success in terms of getting things closed. New appointments are slowing a little bit, but our design track, which is what feeds the vast majority of our sales volume is still booking out as consistently as it has been for the whole year. So
Good.
we're trying to play it smart, because I don't think there's any way we don't feel some impact of this. But
Yep.
right now, things are holding relatively steady, which is great. Another thing we're working on leaning more into, and we are maintenance division. We almost let go about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, something like that. We just kind of had it with this our maintenance division, just because we weren't devoting the time and resources that we needed to make that run properly. We ended up bringing in an individual to run that, who has done just a phenomenal job. And we're looking to lean more into the commercial maintenance side of things, just to kind of try to build that book of business up a little bit. One, to generate 12-month revenue, but then also just to, those are typically the least affected during times of economic downturn.
Yep. No, I've talked to a lot of guys and gals in this field that, their heart's not in lawn care or maintenance or anything like that. And the first thing they want to do is jump into the outdoor living space. It's fun. It's exciting. It's flashy. We can build cool shit. But they just want to let go of the maintenance side of things. And, the words have been very clear that, during these times, there's boom times and there's bust times, right? So it's a matter of, maintenance is always something that you can count on, because people will always maintain stuff. They might not build stuff, but they'll maintain stuff. So my suggestion has been, just as you're already doing here, is keep that maintenance in check. And if it doesn't light you up, if it's not something that you're like, man, I love mowing lawns, I love taking care of, find someone who does and let them run it. And then you can keep that as a portion of your business and feed into it and keep the lights on that way when things get tough. I mean, I've been through 0809, and I know we just skated through, and it was because of maintenance that kept us rolling through that. It was commercial account that kept us rolling through that, or we would have went bust that year for sure. And I'm always thinking about how do we keep the sustained income coming in monthly from things that are, we don't have an aggressive maintenance side. We do it through design, right? So we have we're designers that build. So our design fees actually pay during that time. People will design things. They might not build it all at once, but it then plants seeds for the future, so that when things do quit, and they're all cycles, right? They're all cyclical. So they're all cycles. And then the downtime turns into an uptime, and then you can take advantage of it. But it's the ones that don't, or haven't been through those cycles before, that get hooked, because they think it's always going to be like this. They started the business a year or two ago and like, oh my God, I don't know why I didn't do this before. And dude, the last 2 years, as long as you had a heartbeat, you got a job, right? It was that easy. So now it's not going to be like that anymore. I think it's going to become much more competitive, but not competitive in a way that you're fighting each other about it. It's about who offers the best value, the best customer experience. People are expecting those things now. It's not just about the number. It's about who do they trust the most.
Yeah, you couldn't be more right there. And then I would say one other thing we're trying to do a little bit to speak to the difference between the last 2 years and where I think we're heading now is just kind of ease our foot off the gas a little bit from a growth perspective. And we've been working with a financial consultant who's been just absolutely fantastic in terms of getting together kind of a plan and a strategy to build cash reserves, make ourselves more resilient in the event of, slower months than we had anticipated.
Absolutely. Now, I know this is going to sound pretty basic for you, but I know some of the listeners out there, they're kind of running on the seat of their pants, and they're like, you know what? Hey, we got money in the bank. We're good to go. But they may or may not be making any money right now, right? They don't know their numbers. They don't have the infrastructure in place for that, or even somebody or something, a software pack to be able to handle that. So how important is it for you to know your numbers, especially during times when they start getting dicey? Like how important is that?
I mean, it's, how do you even phrase that? It's not important. It's, if you're not doing it, you might as well just not be running a business. Like just go home, like go get an hourly job. If that's where you are. If you don't know your numbers, you truly have no idea if you're being successful. Business ownership has a great way of making you feel like you're being successful when you're not sometimes, just because you see money coming in, you're turning over so much money. But you're not actually building anything, right? And you mentioned before, like, why are we doing this if not to be spending more time with our families, if not to be achieving freedom of some kind, whether that's time, whether that's financial, whatever it is. And if you're not knowing your numbers, then you have no idea if all of the effort you are putting in, we would never do anything else in life like that, right? We'd never keep working out if we never saw any payoff from that. We'd never, like, business should be the same way. If you don't know that you are being profitable, if you do not know that you're making financially sound decisions and that the work you're bidding and the work you're putting in the ground or performing is not, profitable, it's, what are we even doing out here? It's not even worth it. So to answer your question, maximally important, the most important.
It's like one
and
of the
it's too
first
easy
things,
these days. It's too easy these days to know them. I saw that you had Weston, who's a friend of mine, on the show a while back. Synced Up is a fantastic software for that. Whether you're using Synced Up or any of the other big ones out there, there's a lot of fantastic softwares. You have to be costing what you're doing and making sure that it's lining up and making sense. There's times in the past where we've been doing 40% of our work is extremely lucrative. We're killing it. It's great. And it's just towing along the other 70%. And oftentimes there's a balance to that, because as you're growing, you're going to take on stuff that's new that you're not quite as efficient at, that you're not as good at, and you're going to lose some money on that. And your other stuff's going to float that, but it's in the name of growth. And that makes sense. But if you don't even know that that's happening or what you're doing, then you're just going to end up hemorrhaging money, and you're not going to know what's successful, what's not. And you see a lot of companies like that, where they've made the less flashy call to run what they're very good at, to run what's very profitable for them. And then they end up achieving all of their longer term goals, whether it be, again, financial goals, time goals, whatever those things are. You're much more likely to achieve those, even though you might not put in the thing you think was the coolest thing at the time, right? You may have to say no to a job that looks awesome, but you're not equipped for, and not going to be successful at.
Yeah, I mean, and I know so many, and I was guilty of this, so I'm not throwing rocks in a glass house here, but I know when I first started, it was about winning, right? Winning at all costs. Like, we're going to go out, I'm going to do this design, and pretty soon they start negotiating price, and I'm like, I have to get this project. I've got so much invested in my time. It becomes this ego trip where I have to get this thing, even at a loss. I mean, I took a lot of losses in the early days because I wanted the project. I wanted that corner property, and that homeowner knew I wanted it. So they would just sit there and hack at the price, and I would say yes. And I did it. And at the end of the day, I lost money doing it. And I'm like, why the hell did I do that? And then the next project would come up after I just learned this, and I'd do it again. And it wasn't until, I think it was 05, 06 when I met Charles Vander Kooi. I don't know if you were in that world, but I met him at a seminar, and he was an incredible speaker. And he brought out this concept of multiple overhead recovery, and he had me hooked right then and there. And he had a software pack, not nearly as fancy and nice as Synced Up is now, but he had it where we had to go through, and I had Jerry Gata come out to the operation. He spent a day with us and went through everything. And that was what got us through the last recession, was the fact that I knew exactly what I needed to charge. If I want $1 less, I was losing money. If I want $1 more, I made an extra $1. So knowing that number is like knowing a destination before you get in your car. Most people drive their business like they get in, they put a blindfold on, and they just drive until they hit something.
This feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This feels good. And the thing that what got me in the beginning is like, holy shit. Somebody just wrote me a check for $20,000. I come off a farm, dude. That was like unheard of. Nobody had that in their bank account.
No way can I screw this up now.
Yeah, exactly. I've got $20,000. It's so much money. It's so much money. And the next thing you know, you're paying everybody off, and you're like, well, that's like $24,000 for that. Oh crap. Yeah. And next thing, like, all right, next payment. Okay, good. Whew, covered that. And then it's like, oh crap, we need 15 to go over there. Okay, now I got $1,000 in my pocket. This isn't good. One more payment, and then you've got more things. Things came up, things got bigger, whatever. Yeah. It was a real slippery slope. But my point is, once I finally knew my numbers, then when it came time when things got tight, that I was like, no, I know I can't do it. And if somebody can do it for less, that's great. Either their overhead is better, they have a better, more efficient machine, or they're going to be out of business in no time. And that's what's going to happen. If things get tighter, not if, but when things get tighter, that a lot of the new businesses are going to run into a position where it's a competitive free for all to whoever can cut their price to a point where somebody goes out of business. And so without knowing the numbers, if you don't, and you're listening, get on something, even if it's not synced up, get something that you can figure out what your nut is and what you need to charge per hour through your machinery, through your labor, through your markup of materials, so that you can sit back and not have the frustration, stress that comes from not knowing and keeping your fingers crossed. Oh man, thank God those days are over.
Yep. And I think believing in it too, like know your inputs are correct, like know all your expenses are dialed in, take the time to put together a proper budget. And then once that's sorted out, there's no guessing game. It's like, do I want to do this job for free or pay money to do it? The answer is no. And it's like, there's sometimes it's like, okay, well, this is my cue to walk away. There's nothing else I can do about it. Yep. And in interest of transparency, I got myself into a situation like that last year. Just an absolutely incredible job. This is why I'm not allowed to do sales anymore here. But it was just it was a phenomenal job. Beautiful house, gorgeous project. One of the most beautiful projects we've ever completed. Just giant pool, beautiful natural stone deck, awesome waterfall doing like 1 billion gallons a minute. Like it's awesome. And and we lost almost $60,000 in the project
Wow.
by the time it was all said and done, just because, I mean, there were other things that were mismanaged along the way.
Sure.
But that's what it was. It was just that eye on the carrot, and I couldn't let it get away. So we were willing to, take way too much abuse on the path to get there. But ultimately that ended up being, we always do our best here to frame that as a net positive, because when you look at the things that were changed from that, I'm glad it happened on a job like that instead of a $500,000 job, where the hemorrhaging would have been maybe you don't come back from that. So we, you learn a lot from it, and it's good to, take the mistakes and frame them positively. I always say, like, I'll make any mistake once, I'll do it one time. I'll take my lumps. I always view it as going to school. That's what Patrick and I always talk about, is like, hey, college is expensive. You pay to play. So, and those are the best learning experiences are the ones that you pay for, that have a little blood on the side of them.
That's for sure, man. Those things you feel. You don't just learn them, you feel them. Yeah. And I've had plenty of broken bones and black eyes from that exact type of thing, where you learn as you go. And I say the first time is learning, the second time is a choice.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. So it's really,
100%.
it's not a matter of trying to avoid the failures or teaching moments, as I like to reframe them, but it's also about, all right, what did they have to teach me? How do we save ourselves from doing this again by setting up a system or a process or something that safeguards or triggers when these things start to happen, that we know ahead of time. It's the only way you can grow a successful business, because if you constantly keep having those same headaches or those same problems, you get stuck in the mud. You don't get a chance to grow because you're just trying to keep your shit together. Yeah. So it's so important to keep moving. But oftentimes, we get into business. I know I did in the beginning because I was, the best installer. Yep. Yep. Right. And then transitioning out of that into a designer, into a business owner, you have to reinvent yourself each and every time as you move through that, right? You've got to be like, all right, now what's my identity now? Like, am I the owner? Am I the designer? Am I the builder? Am I the, who am I the leader? Like, who am I? And trying to do all of those things, you can't do them all well. So it's a matter of focusing. Are you trying to grow your landscaping or hardscaping company, but find yourself making the same mistakes over and over and not sure what step to take next? Do you feel like your business owns you and you don't see a path to long-term happiness, growth, and sustained profitability? If this sounds like you, don't miss Outdoor Living Summer Camp. This live event will equip you with the lessons Cruz and I have learned from growing wickedly profitable 7-figure businesses while significantly reducing daily stress and preserving that sacred time with family. And as a bonus, we're also going to teach you how to recession-proof your business so you continue to grow through any economic condition. Text FREEDOM to 33777 or follow the link in this episode's description to get more information on Outdoor Living Summer Camp. Tickets are limited, so get yours today. So how has that been on your journey so far? How has it been your role changes and how you've managed mindset through those role changes and identity shifts? Yeah, that's a great question. I think it goes back to having a clear understanding of where you want to go, because you have to wear a lot of different hats on the way there whenever you're starting a small business. So like you, I was attracted to it originally. You'll hear me say this a lot. It's just like generally the whole freedom side of it. Yeah. So we grew up with very little money. My family did. And that was something that I saw translate into, don't get me wrong, my parents were totally awesome. They made it work on a shoestring. We had just the coolest experiences, even with nothing, so I definitely don't want to get tied to the fact that money equals freedom, period, because it doesn't. But I think those are the two big things I really wanted, was the financial freedom side of it and the time freedom side of it. I never wanted to have to say no to things with my family in order to, continue to keep the train on the tracks and keep things moving in the right direction. Yep. So those have been the motivating factors the whole way through. And then from there, I think it's just, it's really easy to get your head in the sand and to be just so zoomed in, nose to the grindstone on exactly what you're doing at the time. You kind of lose sight of the overall picture and where you're going. So a word you threw in there was leader at some point. And that's the one thing that I think kind of is an evolving role throughout all the other stages, right? So whether you're the best installer, whether you're the best foreman, whether you're the best salesperson or division lead or managing partner, whatever it is, that leadership is a component that has to stay there no matter what. And I would say regardless of how good I was at sales or how good Patrick was with the numbers, those things did not have a multiplicative impact beyond the two of us until we started really leaning into the leadership side of it. So I think two things. One is zooming out, recognizing where you're trying to take it overall in terms of
how do I want this business to support my lifestyle? How do I want this business to support my family, etc. And then the second is leadership is for all levels. And ultimately, a big part of that freedom comes down to bringing people in alongside you to help you run the thing. And if you haven't developed those leadership characteristics or know how to motivate a team and grow a good, healthy team, then you're underwater. You're never going to make it past stage one.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. And the hard part is when you start a business, and I know this happened with me, it was like, okay, it was a means to an end. It's like, what am I going to do? When I got out of high school, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I grew up in a garden center, worked on farms. I'm like, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have some big, shiny object in the future that I was shooting for. I just kind of knew a feeling like I wanted this free feeling. I wanted to do what I love to do. My father always pushed that to us. Said, you find something you love and the money will naturally come. So you need passion first. You have to have something that gets you up in the morning. And that's always been the case here with outdoor living for me. And like starting there, but I didn't have that shiny object. And I know a lot of listeners are thinking like, hey man, like, yeah, I kind of know what I kind of want, but I don't know really what it is yet. And I'll have to be fully honest with you. It took me probably 15 years into the industry to really understand where I wanted to go with it. And then it's every day it keeps evolving, like the what ifs. I have a lot of what ifs that like, so what if I did that? And what if I became a better leader? What would that look like? And what if I started training people into things that we've learned over the last 25 years? What would that look like? And it's opening up bigger story loops and bigger questions. And how can we share? How can we impact? How can we do all of those things? It's really important. So with the leadership side of things, how does somebody even start that process? If somebody's listening to this podcast and thinking like, I just started a business, I want to learn how to be a leader. I don't know. I know I need to be, but I don't know even how to start. How would you suggest they even start that journey?
Yeah. So I think it starts with yourself. I'm a big John Maxwell fan, and he talks about basically like, how can you ever expect to be a leader to someone else if you can't lead yourself? And our leadership team at work is currently going through a Maxwell book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And the one we just went through last week was the law of magnetism. And it's basically, how can you expect to attract people to your organization if you are not embodying, those characteristics and those qualities? So I think the first thing you have to do is get right with yourself. Make sure that you are in a spot where you're able to lead, where you're prepared to lead. You have to make sure that you believe in the company's values, whether it be your mission, vision statement, your core values. Those have to be the things that are truly driving everything you are, and they have to be true of who you are as a person, who you are from a character standpoint. I always say that in the blue collar industry, I think this industry has got a better nose for bullshit than any other industry in the world. We know when we're being lied to, we know when we're being sold, whatever, a bag of crap. Like you can't fool these people. It's like, I've been talking before, I've been up front, and I look at people and I'm like, they know I will feel inauthentic, and I will look at them and I'll be like, they know that I'm being inauthentic right now. So I think if you're not the person that you need to be in order to lead, then you're not going to get anywhere. So I think that's the first thing, is making sure you're leading yourself, making sure that you're being disciplined, making sure that you are being the kind of person that you want to lead other people to be more like, right? And then secondly, I think is prioritizing it. So I know that everyone loves the concept of training, right? So it's like, oh yeah, like we train our people, we give them opportunities to learn, we give them opportunities to grow. But then when it actually gets into the season, that's a really hard decision to make on a beautiful sunny Wednesday morning when you had training set aside and you're behind on 1,000 different projects, and all the clients are, yelling at you. I know for us, those trainings got canceled 10 out of 10 times under that circumstance. We'd have like, okay, we have a rain day. Let's throw something together real quick. Right. So leadership's no different. Making the time for it, making the time to invest in your people, to give them an environment in which they can grow, in which they can be successful, in which they can kind of meet their unrealized potential. Another thing I will say about the green industry and the blue collar industries is that I think there's an unbelievable amount of unrealized potential, because 100%. These people, they've worked with their hands their entire lives, and they think that's kind of where it stops. They think that like, what I can physically create with my hands is the extent of my abilities. And that could not be further from the truth. I mean, the amount of just incredible people I've seen kind of come up through the ranks, and just given the correct environment in which to grow, give them that ecosystem, and then they can kind of really find their way forward, given the right opportunities and the right kind of developmental programs.
Man, you're spot on with that for sure. It's creating that environment. Your business becomes a vehicle for your employees and team members' growth. It helps them get to their goals faster, and that's how you keep people.
100%.
Yep.
And that's honestly how, when you look at where we are, and if Patrick and I kind of like step back and see where we've come, where we're going, I mean, it's been years, and I'm not kidding, years since you could point to that being directly tied to anything Patrick and I are doing.
Yeah.
Just the number of just incredibly high-powered, dedicated, motivated individuals that we have here. They're the ones who make the dream happen 100%. And when I think about the law of magnetism, we were talking about the other day, and I was looking around the room and I was like, man, I'm glad these people are here, because like we have this incredible, whatever, 8 people it was, or 7 people in the room the other day. And I was like, these are the kind of people that I want to be attracting other people. And at times it's like, I'd rather attract more people like them than like myself, because they cover so many of my weaknesses. So it's very encouraging and really exciting place to be whenever you start to be able to get to work with such high power individuals.
I love that. It's all about team. And before we get further into culture and team, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about what you do to keep the discipline and to keep yourself focused and growing as a leader. So what are some of the things you do daily, monthly, weekly, whatever, to keep you in that discipline?
Yeah. So a big thing that we have done this year, that Patrick and I have done this year, is, so I think prioritizing, like if I had like distill it down to one word, it would be, you asked me how I say discipline, like discipline and prioritizing and being willing to see through the fog, right? So one of my big weaknesses is getting caught up in the minutia. There's so many things that I've done for so long, whether it be on the production side of things or on the sales side of things. Even though we have these extremely talented people in these roles, there's just this like, age-old gravitational pull for me to come and get back involved in the micro. Does that make sense? And when I say micro, that's not a quality statement on the type of work that is being done. It's that it's not what I'm supposed to be doing here, right?
Yeah.
So I think from a discipline standpoint, one of the best things that Patrick and I have done in recent months is really focus in laser vision on what we call our mission critical. So it's identifying those 3 things that we are going to do and that we are going to do extremely well. And if we're not meeting those goals, then we're failing. It doesn't matter if I sold a 6-figure project that week. It doesn't matter if, whatever, nothing else matters. If those 3 things are not getting done, if those 3 mission critical items are not getting done, then I am being a failure at my job. Does that make sense? So I think kind of zooming out, establishing those things, and just like the budget, looking at it as just like, hey, this is gospel now. If I'm not doing this, I'm failing regardless, no matter what. So just keeping that out there, keeping it front and center, looking at it every day, setting your goals, saying your vision, managing your calendar to say these things are meeting my goals or these things are not meeting my goals. And then just being ruthless with cutting off things that are not.
So it's super focused. Now, do you mind sharing those 3 things that you guys focus on?
Yeah. So for me, I work on all things production, supporting our production teams. I work on all things sales and design. So making sure that our sales team and design team are meeting their goals, meeting all of their objectives, supported in their growth trajectory. And then third and finally is all new business development. So that's kind of building new relationships with vendors, potential clients moving down the track. Recently, I've been working a lot with different architecture firms and builders in the area. Lots of times those relationships are, we used to just look for anybody and everybody with that. Like, hey, if anyone will potentially throw work our way, I just want to cast a super wide net. Now I'm being a lot more selective in that process, because just with our business model, we work very well with a very specific type of builder or a very specific type of architect that's serving a very specific type of client. So yeah, those are my big 3 that if I'm not meeting those 3, and Patrick and I we have a managing partners meeting once a week. So we say, here are our 3 primary goals. And then we share with one another kind of our specific deliverables for that week based off of our 3 primary goals.
Got it. And that's very good. Thank you for sharing that. Now, when it comes to you personally, how do you keep all of this, coming in sane? I know there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stuff you're managing, a lot of teams, a lot of people, a lot of stuff, and even trying to help them with their goals and achieving them faster. How do you personally keep yourself, the mindset, physicality, all that? How do you keep that in order? Do you have rituals or habits that you do each day in order to get to that point? Like, how do you manage that mentally, physically?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Yeah. I mean, staying active, keeping I have a lot of hobbies and passions, things I love doing. So like tomorrow morning, I am just making the time for those things. Tomorrow morning, I'm waking up at 4:30 to head up to the Laurel Highlands to go trout fishing for a few hours before work starts. I try to shoot my bow every day. I'm a big hunter and fisherman, so I love those are two things that really kind of keep me going. Making sure to dedicate time to those, have those, steady times. Spending time with the Lord every day is a very important part of my life, and prayer. Uh, Other than that, I mean, just staying dedicated and keep myself focused on those tasks. I got off of all social media about a year ago at this point, and that was tremendously helpful for me. I was talking with Caleb Bauman yesterday actually about this. I don't think social media is an inherent bad at all. But I did have to recognize that I have a relatively addictive personality, which can be great as a business owner because it makes you, tenacious and unstoppable. But at the same time, when it, results in scrolling Instagram for an hour for no reason, that's when it's like, okay, you know what, this is no longer helpful. So ended up just getting rid of, trying to really eliminate those distractions from my life has been very helpful for me.
That's great. And I love that, dude. And getting back to nature and to faith and all that is just so important. And to do it on a daily basis it's recharging and rejuvenating, because the world's always going to try to suck the energy out of you. It's your responsibility, each and every person's responsibility, to refill that bucket every day. And if you don't, you eventually go dry, and then you start getting nasty, and you're not yourself anymore, right? You just become this reactionary person that makes not so great decisions. So, it's super important.
And oftentimes those not so great decisions feed into just like perpetuating that cycle of negativity, right? Because when you're not in that correct headspace. I had to get personal for a second, I had an experience 2 years ago, late fall, where we hadn't started investing in our leadership team yet. We hadn't started investing in anything that really gave our organization kind of a multiplicative effort. We were still very one-to-one correlation. So I was doing all the sales, I was managing all the projects, and just ended up like I never even scheduled. For years, I mean, it was like a 7 or 8 year streak. I would always take about a 2-week trip in September or October, whether that was a dirt biking trip out west or a hunting trip out west. Like I would always take that big reset recharge, no phone, no nothing. And it was awesome. And then the year that I really kind of abandoned that, I mean, I had like a mental and physical just total breakdown in November. So someone who had never missed a day of work in his life, which I wore way too much as a badge of honor, and it came back to bite me. But I just woke up one day, I couldn't see straight. I was dizzy, tried to get to the bathroom to throw up, smacked my head off the toilet, went to the hospital, was incapacitated for the better part of 3 weeks. Just to this day, we're not exactly sure what it was. But my best guess, it was a mix of a panic attack and just complete, mental and physical fatigue, where I just had nothing left to give. The tanks were totally empty, and I ignored every warning sign on the way there. And I think a huge part of that was, just losing focus of what my ultimate goals and priorities were. And at that time I had a family. My wife was pregnant with our first, and I just, I wasn't prioritizing anything that I had to be successful. And that came back to bite me. And it wasn't instant either. I mean, that was after that whole year, I was treating my body like that. I was treating my life like that. And in turn was treating my family like that, was treating my friends like that. And I mean, it was 9 months later that kind of everything came home to roost. So it's, lots of times it's that cumulative effect that really catches up with you.
For sure, dude, for sure. And thank you for sharing that. Now, what are some of the red flags or some of the warning lights on the dashboard that were flashing bright for you, but you're like, screw that, I'll deal with it tomorrow? Like, what were some things that came up?
I mean, for me, it was just the amount of hours I was putting in, I think, and the amount of stress that I was carrying. So I think a lot of it comes down to just arrogance and not thinking that I needed somebody else, or thinking that I could just continue to handle it. So I was used to being kind of the vacuum cleaner of the company, where it's something to come up like, I got that. And then also just wanting to take on new and bigger things all the time. You'd be like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. So just not having any kind of limit, right? Or like cut off from my plate. My wife was in nursing school at the time, which was just extremely busy. So our daily schedule was typically, I'd leave the house at 6 o'clock in the morning. She'd leave the house at 8 o'clock in the morning. She'd be in school all day long. She went for a 2nd degree program. And it was an accelerated, 15-month program. So it's a huge 4 years condensed into 15 months. It was a huge program. So we'd get home, have dinner together. I mean, for like 30 minutes, I'd get home at 7 o'clock at night from work, have dinner together. We'd be like, great, kiss each other. And then she would go and work on school until 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, go to sleep. I would be down in my office. I mean, midnight was a great bedtime for me during that time. But oftentimes I'd be up. There were times easily I'd be up until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, just schedule sending emails. I'd have 40 emails in my schedule send box that would all go out the following morning. sending out bids, just keeping everything afloat. So for me, I think it was just plain and simple overwork, just way too much stuff on my plate, and having the arrogance to think that one person could handle, that type of volume.
Wow. Wow. I know that, dude, I can relate 100%, right?
Yeah.
We're obsessive achievers at the end of the day, right? We just want to, it's easiest for us to put our hands on it and get it done because we can do it fastest, most efficient, simple. We don't have to train anybody to do it, but we overwhelm quick, and I always say being obsessive is not a bad thing if it's directed correctly. It's when you obsess in the wrong direction that it becomes a problem. Now, how did you eventually let that go? Like, how did you get out of that? How did you say, all right, well, I got to shut all these warning lights off. Well, I had to do X in order to get there. So what did you do to get out of that?
Yep. So I guess there's two stages to that question. One is kind of what got me to that point. And the second is I guess the point I got to, and the other is then what we did about it. So the first is, there have been kind of two times in the history of local ridge landscaping where either me or Patrick or both of us at the same time have said, enough's enough. If this doesn't change right now, I'm done with it. Mm-hmm. And it's just being willing to walk away. It's hey, Pat's got a degree. I love running machines. I can go get especially at the time, I can go get an operator's job and make X number of dollars an hour and just live an easy life, move out west, whatever it is. And that was a very attractive thing at a number of occasions. But I think it's getting to kind of rock bottom and say, hey, I'm willing to try anything right now. I'm willing to throw whatever at the wall right now. All these great concepts I've heard about in podcasts, or all these great things I've read about, that I, internally don't believe, or it's well, that wouldn't work for me. So I think it's, for me, unfortunately, it took getting to rock bottom a number of occasions to kind of make those transitions. Yeah. So some very big, I guess if I could distill it down, the biggest transitions I think for us were, one, being willing to pry our, cold dead fingers off of control in the company. So being willing to delegate both tasks and responsibilities within the company, as well as delegating leadership within the company, is something that gave us just an unbelievable amount of freedom. And it took getting to, obviously, a bad spot to be able to do that, whether that was leaving our first hardscape job with someone else in charge, or whether that was hiring a project manager to actually be responsible for all the client communication and dealing with a client who's upset and being concerned that, is not going to carry through the company values or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. So whatever the circumstance may be, those were very traumatic decisions for us to make. And did they always work out perfectly? Absolutely not. There were a lot of times where it's, you had to go back in, you do have corrective action, apologize to clients, or apologize to the team for ways in which they weren't resourced correctly, or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, those are the steps we took that enabled us to grow, and that enabled not only Patrick and I to grow, but enabled the team as a whole to grow, enabled our project manager or landscape account manager or safety and training manager or operations manager, whoever it is. It was through those experiences that they've continued to grow. And now I can't look at a single position, and I mean this, I can't look at a single position on our leadership team that I could step in and do better than that person. That's awesome. Even though these were things that I was so married to and thought that no one could ever be better than me at them. Mm-hmm. By now it's if I look at it, I'm I feel stupid anytime. I've had to fill some people's shoes while they're gone. I'm just I don't know how to do this. You guys have cause they've had the opportunity to grow with the company. And as we've changed, and now it's I go try to step into a sales role to whether it's if the volume's too much for our people to handle, or for whatever reason, if I step into that, I'm just I really I don't know how to bid these types of jobs anymore, because I haven't been bidding the type of work we're doing now, or whatever it may be. So that was a huge stepping stone for us, was being willing to delegate those things and be able to let go of control. And I think the other one was bringing in people who know a lot more than us. So we've worked with there have been a number of just very impactful individuals in our lives, whether they be local entrepreneurs. We have a few friends here, completely different lines of work, but oftentimes very similar goals: freedom, spending time with family, financial freedom, traveling, investing in, passions and hobbies, things like that. There are a couple of local people that have been really cool and have poured into our lives a lot. Our families have always been extremely supportive. But then more specifically, working with some industry coaches. So we've been working with Frank Bork for a long time. He's just a great friend of ours and has been extremely impactful in our company and helping us kind of, as our trajectory has just always been growing and developing. He's been just an awesome impact and influence in our lives. And again, we were able to find someone who, I think there's a lot of coaches that are kind of like almost like the 10X mentality where it's like, go, 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 go. Like, here's where you're going to make the most money. Here's where you're going to be the biggest. Here's where you're going to be the fastest and the leanest. And we were really clear with him up front. Like, basically, here's where our life goals are not being fulfilled with the business. And he's like, you're the kind of client I want to work with, you know, because I want to get you to a point where you're happy with like your life and the tension, the positive tension that you're holding all of your life in, versus just, you know, throwing everything else to the wind and just going full scale at how much money we put in the bank account this month.
Dude, I love that. That's an excellent approach. Such a good approach, because you're 10X people out there, and you know, it's grow, 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 grow or die, grow, grow, grow or die. And at the end, you have a lot of money in your bank account, but everything else is in fucking shambles or in flames around you. Your family, your faith, your fitness, all that's gone. Right? It's not the way that always has to work, but the reality is that if you focus so much on just the money, you may end up with money. And that's it, right? And I love that. That's Frank's reality. I love that. That's Frank's focus is like, hey, look, fulfillment is my goal. Fulfillment in my family, in my life, in my faith, and everything going on around me. Fulfillment. So money is a number. It's a thing. It's a scorecard. That's all it is. Yeah. And it doesn't always mean it has to be the highest. What it has to be is part of it. If again, whatever your goal is it financial freedom? Is it freedom within your business to do your craft? Maybe you're an excellent installer, and that's what you love to do. Maybe water features are your specialty, and you love working with rocks and stumps and water and mud and all that stuff, and you just want to do more of that and not run a company. Then just make sure you realize that and position your company around you. That's okay too. You don't always have to be the one holding the reins, but somebody's got to do that. So it's finding your spot in there and finding out what lights you up, what gets you up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You just can't sit in bed anymore because you're like, I need to get going. I can't wait to do this. I get to do this, not I have to do this, right? And once you find that spot, people ask, how do you find your why? I'm like, when you feel that every day, you found your why. Just put words around it now, right? It lights you up. So this has been amazing, man. I really appreciate this conversation here as we wrap up. So anything else you want to, drop on our listeners here before we wrap this thing up for us?
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing I'd leave you guys with is the willingness to let things go. That was the biggest cantilever to us as we were growing. Again, like you said, not just in money, but in size of depth. Yeah, not just money and size, but in depth of team and in getting a lot closer to ourselves and our team being able to meet kind of their longer term goals has been the willingness to delegate things out and the willingness to not just delegate, but the willing to kind of entrust different parts of the organization to different people. And that's not size related. You don't have to be a $20 million company to delegate anything. Just to be clear, we're not a $20 million company. Yeah. So, but it's, whatever you're up against, whatever you're doing, just empowering your people to be able to work alongside you in a sustainable way towards a common vision and a common goal is unbelievably important.
No doubt. Now I'm going to put you on the spot here. 2 or 3 nuggets you can drop on delegation. Here's the scenario. I'm a business owner. I've done everything myself. It's every time I hand something off, they fuck it up. I got to deal with that all the time. It's just easier for me to do it. But I'm stuck. I'm not happy that I got to do everything all the time. What are a couple of little nuggets you could drop on us to just start the delegation process to begin to build the trust that someone else might be as good, or shall I say better, than we could be at something? I went through the same thing. That's why it's just kind of fun. So what do you got for that?
Yeah. So I guess first thing I'd say is this. It all comes down to the people. So if you have people who, what's the reason they're fucking it up, I guess is the question, right? So if it's that I think it's a good area for us as business owners or team leaders or whatever it is to be very introspective, first of all, and to say like, hey, do they actually have everything they need? Am I trusting them? I had a bad tendency of leaving job sites in my busy days to be like, you good? Everyone's good here? Okay, great. Goodbye. Without like pulling the leader aside and just be like, do you have everything you need? Have you been adequately resourced? Do you have all the stuff do you have all the arrows in your quiver you need to be successful here? So I think that's kind of the first thing, making sure that you're resourcing your team. Second of all, there are some people who just aren't the right fit. So I think you got to have the right person. That's the first ingredient in this equation. is to make sure that you have someone who's going to be the right fit. If they're messing it up because of lack of care and consistently, or just if it's a quality control issue, they know dang well what needs to be done and aren't investing the time and effort to get it done. The person needs to be off your team or not a leader 3 weeks ago. Yeah. But after that, I think it's a lot of it is just letting it go and being okay with things not being your quality or perfect for the beginning. So people say that what we were always taught is like, as soon as someone can do it 80% as well as you can, it's time for you to pass it off, because they're not going to be able to achieve that extra 20% until they are the people on the line, until they're the ones who are having to answer for everything. And truthfully, I would even take that number down closer to 60%. Because it's what you're investing in. Like it's always worth looking at what you're investing in and the cost that it is going to be, right? So if you look at people who've invested their $10,000 in, like, people who started extremely successful companies, they gave a lot, to grow these companies. They kind of put it all on the line. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to follow a similar model to say, it's like, hey, I'm willing to risk a lot, because the payoff is that I have someone who can work autonomously, someone who can carry through the company vision, the company quality, the leadership abilities, all these things through in my absence, which then allows me to focus on things that will be better supporting them, that'll be better supporting our team and clients, and just lead to the snowball effect of growth. And then also what you develop in your team there is a culture of achievement versus a culture of micromanagement. And then they say, it's like, hey, I've been given this responsibility here to do this. I've been given everything I needed. If I fail, I'm gone. Like if I fail repeatedly and don't show effort or care, I'm gone. Yeah. And if that's the case, you want that person gone anyways. So I think it's making the really hard decisions oftentimes to can those types of people who are not supposed to be your organization, which is a tough thing to do. But I do think it's going to get easier as, like you said, I think as the economy changes a little bit, I don't think there's going to be a landscaping job on every corner anymore, and top talent may be a little easier to come by.
No, I agree. I agree totally. And, I've learned the same thing along the way here. It comes to autonomy. People need to have their space. And one of the biggest chokeholds on business, at least it was for me in the beginning, was me. It was wanting to micromanage and control every outcome because I wanted things to be perfect. And it had to be my version of perfection, not their version of perfection, which could have been a hell of a lot better, but I wouldn't even see that. I'd be like, no, if it's not the way I see it, it's not done right. And we had to give up. I had to give up that ego side of things and be like, you know what? No, that's not how it's going to work. Perfection is the enemy of success. We want consistency. We want constant movement forward. That's what we want. And others may have faster ways to get there. I need to get the hell out of the way. So I think 60% is more close to it. When you get somebody that is, that they're responsible, they're smart, they're involved, they're ready to win and kill it with you. Get the hell out of the way. And it's going to be a little freaky in the beginning. It's going to be freaky. Like, oh my God, what if they mess up?
A lot freaky.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, what if they mess up? And then you're like, what if I messed up? What if I cost the company money? What's the difference? Right. Yeah. So they're not running businesses. They're not running all that stuff. They've got a smaller portion of this puzzle, and they can go super deep and focused on it. So my suggestion, and you can either back me up or fight me on this one, but give people some space. Let them figure it out, just like you would your kid when they're riding a bike. You wouldn't sit there and hold the damn handlebars the whole time. You let them go. You give them some training wheels. You let them go, and you take those wheels off at 60%. And you say, figure it out.
Yep. I will back you up on that 100%.
Awesome.
It's I think that's a great way to put it, is get out of their way, because it's so much stuff, just an interest of full transparency what it comes down to. And I never felt this at the time. I would have never thought I was like this haughty, arrogant person, but so much of what it comes down to is I just truly believed in my heart that I was better than people at like so many different things. And it just like looking back at it, I'm just like, what was I thinking? Like how could I have truly thought I was better than everybody at everything? Right. And again, I would have never said that at the time. Like I'm letting this go because I'm better at it. It's like this responsibility I felt to do everything, because like it has to be perfect. So I have to be the one to see it through to completion. Yeah. But man, there comes a point where, like I told you, like Patrick and I, it's like, we can do 3 things well, we can do 3 big picture things well. And that's it. As soon as we go beyond that, we're, missing our mission critical. So whether that's family, whether that's supporting our teams here. But being able to have that kind of multiplicative effort is unmatched in value.
Absolutely, dude. Man, I've really, really enjoyed our conversation today. And it's so great to bump back into you now and have another conversation.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, this is great. So, Kenneth,
thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on and spending your precious time with us and, teaching people and telling people your story. Cause, I'm sure people listening, there's thousands that listen every episode now. And I'm sure there's people out there thinking, wow, okay, all right, I got this. I can do this. And that's what this is all about. It's impacting and empowering people and sharing the word and sharing, the things we've learned over all the years we've been in business now. So Kenneth, if someone wants to reach out to you, ask you a question about what they talked about today or in general, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah. So they, like I mentioned, I'm not on social media anymore, so I'm a little bit harder to catch. But I always welcome, if anyone really has any questions or would like to interface on anything, feel free to shoot me an email. That's kenneth@localrootslandscaping.com. And then we have a company email or a company Instagram as well. So if anyone wants to check that out, that's Local Roots Landscaping. Really complex, Instagram handle there. Yeah. But that's where you can find us. That's where you can find us.
I love that. I love it. All right, Kenneth, this has been a great 45, almost 53 minutes now, actually. So just checking the timer. Yeah. This has been really good. So guys, if you've enjoyed this podcast and it's really kind of struck a chord with you and you feel like, you know what? I'd love to implement some of these things into my business. I'd love to even share with a friend that might be thinking about, these kinds of things. If you talk to them and they're running through these same problems and you think this podcast episode could help them, please share it. We've grown this podcast, incredibly well. We're actually in the top 10% of podcasts right now when it comes to engagement and growth on the planet, which is crazy to me. I'm still pinching myself with that one, but it's not because of what I'm doing over here. It's because you guys are sharing this. I see it every week. I see people sharing it and trying to help others grow too. And then if you're just learning a lot of stuff today and you're like, holy crap, share it. That's the cool part. Just share it with other people and you'd be surprised by what you get back. So again, the goal here is to impact and empower over 2 million people in the next 4.5 years. We're well on our way to that because of how amazing everybody that's been listening and how much they've been, sharing and everything with that. So guys, until next week, keep going, keep sharing. You're awesome. Talk to you soon.